Welcome back to season 2 of In the Sand podcast. Man, I am so excited just to be back for another year. Had a lot of great support in season 1, and I'm looking forward to season 2 to just being even more amazing. I got 2 young men on who are doing amazing things, and I'm just excited to open up season 2 with Coach Wright and Coach Tadlock. Of course, this week is Mississippi Alabama week, and that's kind of what we started last year with the Mississippi Alabama game and lead into the All-Star game. We really kind of wanted to kind of segue into it because when you selected as a coach to be a part of this and you get an opportunity to coach 12 of the best young men and young ladies in the state of Mississippi, it's an honor and it's a privilege. And if you ever been in a room when they're picking the teams and they're talking about the game, you really get the sense of how important this is to win that game. And so it is about fun, but at the same time, as they say, you got to put on for your city, put on for your state. And so it's a good time, and I'm glad that it's here this year. Obviously, it bounces back from Alabama to Mississippi every year, and Alabama does a great job hospitality-wise, facilities, taking care of the teams, for what I've been told. And, of course, in Mississippi, we're a hospitality state, so we always going to do it big as well. So excited to be able to kick spring basketball off. So, Coach Tadlock, Coach Wright, welcome to the podcast, brothers.
Coach Sanders, thank you for having us.
Yes, sir. Thank you for allowing us to come on and speak tonight.
Yeah, man, I couldn't wait to get started. Of course, man, Coach Tadlock, I appreciate you last year being on, man. You had a lot of great reviews, man. A lot of people, like my guy Coach Carlisle, he mentioned you within his podcast and a lot of other coaches. So I appreciate you being on. And Coach Wright, I'm excited to have you on and kind of let people who haven't seen, the podcast experience what's kind of some coach basketball, get to know Coach Wright even more, and also continue to learn Coach Tadlock as well. Coach Wright, I'm gonna start with you. I'm gonna start off, give you the first pass. Coach, I want you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are, but in that, tell us about your journey. Like, how did you get to this stage in coaching high school basketball here in the state of Mississippi?
Man, Lorenzo Wright. This is my 8th year at Pascagoula. I started back in 2000 over in Louisiana. Started at Patterson, Louisiana. Was there for about 4 years. Came home, took a little mini break. Got back into coaching as an assistant at St. Martin. Left there, went to Harrison Central for a year. Ended up at Gulfport for a few years. Got back as a head coach at D'Iberville. I was there for 3 really good years. The first 2 years, we were kind of just keeping our heads above water. The third year, we finished like 18-12. Got ranked by Shoes in the state. With the success we had, we kind of just, my opportunity just grew. So I was fortunate enough to get hired on here at Pascagoula once Ron left and went to Meridian. And we've had 8 really good years. We've been to the state tournament twice. This past year we went 29-2. We're on a 29 game win streak before we got popped in the last one. But it was a great year. Outside of winning the ball, man, the gold ball, we had a fantastic year.
Yeah, you did, Coach. And I was going to kind of lead into that, but I kind of jump into it now because I know it's still kind of fresh, Coach. And it was a great season that you all had. And, of course, Coach Justin Sanders, who's my brother, we've always talked basketball and we like good basketball stories. And a lot of people will probably credit this year as an amazing year, Coach. But I would say last year was also, I felt like, was a great build-up for you all. And because I noticed this, and Tony and I talked about this on the last season about how to create a tough schedule, prepare you for those moments. And Coach, I noticed that Pascagoula was making a lot of trips up here. Like you wasn't playing a lot of games down in the coast area. Any big game, obviously you were here making that 2.5, 3 hour drive. And when I started to see that, I said, Coach really must got a squad going on. And as we began to see you all play last year and obviously move into this year, I thought that was I thought it was an amazing feat because when you can come and do the things that you all did this year, but not just this year, this past year, the previous year, it said a lot, Coach. And I want you to talk a little bit about that, Coach, because again, there was a lot of a lot of noise and say, hey, Pascagoula may do it this year, that may be successful. And then, coach, their very first game of the season, coach, if I'm not mistaken, y'all lose their first game of the season. And we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
talk about that more as it goes along, coach. And so I'm gonna ask you like 2 or 3 questions within one question. With all the noise being around you all, especially in the coast area, how did you take their first loss? Like, how did you get the guys? Was it more of a punch in the gut? Was it more of a motivation? Was it more of like a stress reliever? Because after then, coach, y'all rang off 29 straight games. So kind of talk to us
Mm-hmm.
about that process, coach, even starting back from last year, going into the summer, and even just moving into this year, just kind of your thought process within the season.
Well, we were coming from the summer. We had a really good summer. So one ending last season, it kind of
Mhm.
left a bitter taste in our mouth. We felt like we got robbed. We got beat at home against a really good Terrier squad.
Yeah.
It just left a bad taste in our mouth. So we were motivated to get back. So the guys went to work in the summer and in the fall. Had a really good summer. We played a bunch of teams in Louisiana and Alabama, and we played a bunch of home games in the summer with our summer league. Played really well in those. And so as I was making the schedule before we got out for the summer, the whole thought process in it was we got to get the Jackson to play the tough teams. We got to go around the state and play the best of the best if we want to be the best. So that was kind of the mindset that I took on. And the first game of the year, we open up with the jump. We get Madison Central on that first game. We're down a player. We suspended the player. Had another player down with a concussion. That very first game, the guys were going into the season. They were confident because of the summer.
Yeah.
But they were more on the cocky side. So to
Mhm.
lose that first game was really a humbling experience for us. It was a wake up call for us early. Um, and then we just from that point on, it just became a one game approach. And each win, it just kind of we put it behind us and we moved on. We couldn't look too far ahead on our schedule to see
Yeah.
who we had coming up, just because after the Madison Central game, there was Ocean Springs. After Ocean Springs, it was Terry. And it was just a
Mhm.
snowball effect. So we just took a one game approach from that point on. And it was a great run, man. It was an unbelievable run. I really didn't think we would run all 29 straight. But as we went through the one game approach, it just kind of worked itself out. We were getting teams' best shots. We were getting everybody's best shots. I just felt like we were playing well.
Yeah, coach, and that's kind of why I asked that question, because when you lose that first game, there's always question in the locker room. Was Coach Wright with all of that sprinting that we were doing in the preseason? He was right with all these 2-a-days. Was he right about the weightlifting? Because we come out and we lose this first game. Was Coach right about maybe taking a player out of the first game to maybe stay with the team rules? And then when you win that first game, it's always good to win the first game of the season. It's no better feeling when you first win that first one. But then you all continue to keep going, you keep going forward. And so, coach, as the momentum build, how tough was it to be able to constantly keep winning? Because again, in the back of your mind, can this train really keep going? How did you keep the guys cool, calm, and collective as you move throughout the season?
Now it was pretty tough. After each win, or going into the next game, the fan base it just grew, man. It just kind of just slowly multiplied, and so it was just a constant preaching of blocking out the noise, stay focused on the next game, uh, and just repeating that same pattern. Just coming back in the gym, let's work on these little details that we missed. It was nitpicking every little thing that we were doing wrong during the game. Whether we turned it over too much that night, or we got out rebounded, or we didn't take enough charges, or if we just shot it poorly, or even if we didn't get to the free throw line enough. It was just nitpicking every little thing that we can do to ensure success. But the biggest part of it was continuing to block out the noise, especially when you're dealing with teenage kids. Man, they tend to want to soak in and hear everything from the fan base, and from folks at home and in the community and everything. So they bought in. They bought into it, and then it didn't. It helps too when you got a leader such as Dory McMillan,
Yes.
who was preaching the same thing, and then Chris North is, another senior, was preaching the same thing. So the guys were bought in. They were totally bought into it.
Yeah, coach, that's amazing. I kind of kept up with you all through the season, and I knew that when you all came down for the Master County tournament, I knew that would be a tell-all to be able to see you all play back-to-back games, and then of course be able to play Canton the championship game and come out successful. Especially that game came right down to that last shot, so that was amazing to be able to see. Now, as I flip to you, Coach Tadlock, again, kind of similar as well. Obviously, we talked about this last season. Obviously, the pressure with just being a Raymond Ranger, being the coach of the Rangers of Raymond High School. And of course, the expectations are super high. And we talked about this last year. When you go to 4A, you know you got to pencil in Raymond High School, and then it gets to everybody else. And coach, you were number one on most people's rankings, excuse me. And so the hype is even more, even more than what it is. And then of course, coach, you lose the first game of the season against a good Choctaw Central team. And I watched it. I watched it because I'm trying to prepare myself mentally to be able to play the Rangers of Raymond High School. But coach, talk to us about that, because I know you heard it, and I kind of want to give you a chance to be able to defend yourself, because when you lost that first game, the noise was saying, well, maybe Raymond don't have it this year, or they're not as talented as they had been, or maybe they were overrated a little bit. So, coach, kind of talk to us about losing that first. And be honest, coach, you lost the first game, and then you lose the second game against a rival in Terry High School. And so now the buzz is really going on with maybe Coach Tadlock is over the hill, maybe he can't do it. And I know you, coach, you're a competitor. You don't say a lot when it comes to people saying false things about your program, but I know that you got that edge. So kind of talk to us about kind of how that started, coach, because again, I know that was different for the Rangers at Raymond High School.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, and I don't even know if Coach Wright remembers this. Me and him actually discussed playing each other in the first game. And the only reason that I did not play him in the first game, because I knew it would probably be 1 versus 2 early on, I knew that was the only date we could play Choctaw Central. And I knew in 4A we had a good chance of seeing them later on in the year, in the state tournament, if we obviously both of us made it that far. And ironically, we both met up again in the semifinals. So I wanted to go to Choctaw Central and play them at their place because I knew I would get their best shot at their place. We wouldn't get many calls up there, which, I mean, that's what obviously we wanted early. And it's ironic too that 2 years ago we started out number one and we lost our first 2 games that year. We lost to Northwest Rankin first game of the year. We turned around and lost to Canton at home. And so this year was very, very similar. Both the years we've started out preseason number one, we've lost our first 2 games. So that experience we went through 2 years ago obviously prepared us a lot for this year. The only thing I told our guys this year, at least we didn't lose 2 home games right out the gate. And I knew Choctaw and Terry were 2 teams that would probably be Coliseum teams by the end of the year. So, yeah, man, when we lost to Choctaw, my phone was buzzing, just what happened. I mean, I know we were in every group chat probably in the state, like, how did we lose to Choctaw Central? Because a lot of people don't understand, how good Choctaw Central was going to be this year. I happened to see them at Mississippi College last summer, and I said, that team's got a chance to be really good. And so, that's one reason why I said, we'll play them instead. And obviously it benefited us because when they did beat us, when we walked off the floor, I'm not going to say I wasn't mad because we lost, but I knew if we saw them down the road, there was not going to be a thing I had to say to my guys to get them, amped up to play Choctaw again, because the next time we'd play them would be in Jackson. And so, there are, levels of expectations, not only being, at Raymond every year, like Coach said, with me and Coach starting out preseason, top 2 teams in the state, man, you're going to get everybody's best shot. You can watch film on somebody and you may think, but then they play you and it's like they're world beaters just because they're not getting up the same way they are, for Pascagoula or for Raymond. And so that's one thing that we have to educate our kids on each and every night is you're going to get everybody's best shot. And the success that we've had over the last, 7, 8 years, we're going to get the 6 and 7A's best shots. Normally, we're the little brother being a 4A school, but, with the success that we've had, a lot of people want to beat us because we've won state. We've been in that game. And, so that's one thing that we do try to educate our team on is being able to get everybody's best shot because the target is going to be on your back, every single night.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Coach. And again, as for those who are coaches, you realize you don't really get too, I guess, torn apart by losing that first game and the second game, especially when you playing quality teams. Now, obviously, you got to hurry up and get it back, get everything back in line. But there's always some bright spots to it. And like Coach Wright said earlier, there are always things that you could try to piggyback, try to fix, try to correct, and really make it sound. But then, Coach, after you lose those two games, if I'm not mistaken, I was just doing my research. I think you went 20-1, maybe. And so then you kind of go on a tear and you just beating teams and you're doing successful throughout the season. The one game that I was kind of focused on, because again, I love a great basketball story. I saw you all were going down to the coast, obviously, and I saw the teams that were there. And I said, if Raymond can kind of get through this tournament, I think they're going to, again, be a strong team as they push forward. And, of course, you go down to the Gulfport Classic and you do an amazing job as well. So, again, you all just kind of set you all selves up to be able to move from level to level throughout the season. And that was amazing. And I was just looking at it, man, you all played some tough teams from the Jackson Academies of the world, from Meridians. Again, like I said, we said Madison Central. We had a couple of out-of-staters. Just so many great basketball teams that really challenged you all, and it was amazing to be able to see that. Again, I was thinking that before the podcast. I said it would have been great to be able to see Raymond versus Pascagoula, but it's good that you all kind of had that on you all's mind. But that would have been an amazing game to see because, again, similar in a lot of ways, but again, you have some key differences that would have created challenges for both sides. But again, been an amazing basketball game to see. So I really am impressed by that. Impressed by that on how you all did that, because now I know this is still kind of fresh, probably more fresh for Coach Wright, man. But Coach Wright, you get down to Jackson, you get to the Coliseum, and you play Ridgeland High School. And I know that was kind of a heavyweight matchup, especially when you come to the inside presence. But of course, we knew the challenge that both teams cause for one another, Coach. And and I know it's kind of fresh, Coach, so excuse me, but I love to be able to pick your brain and be able to see, kind of talk to us about that game. I know Coach Mack at Ridgeland does a great job. Obviously, you do a great job, but kind of just maybe talk to us about that game, because it's always good to kind of see perspective about how you see it, how you view it. Because I know, like last season, I was talking to Coach Carlisle about when they played Raymond in the championship, and then they went and played an out-of-state game in that tournament. It was good to see his perspective on how maybe they could have done some things differently, seen some things that they would do differently next time. So kind of just walk us through that journey as you come down to Jackson, you play in the Coliseum in that semifinal game.
You know, I knew they were going to be ready to play us because, we came to the Madison County tournament. I kind of remember we were getting ready to play Canton, and I kind of remember one of the kids at Ridgeland saying that they felt like they could beat us if they ever saw us in the playoffs. So, when we got there, we knew we were going to be in for a good fight. It was going to be a tough game. We knew it was going to be a defensive game because Ridgeland does a great job. That's what they do. They're great defensively. So, we tried to limit the big boy on the touches. We wanted to back up some kids. I thought we played. I didn't think we shot it well. That's a lot of credit that goes to Ridgeland. They forced us to play bad. We played slow. And I thought the biggest key for us was in the second quarter. I think we missed a lot of layups in that second quarter. And there was a key play late in the second quarter. We gave up an and one basket that I thought was huge. And I thought, the second quarter just kind of bit us, came back to bite us in the butt a little bit. I felt like if we get the easy layups, it gets us into our press. Our press was our staple. That's what we were priding ourselves on. Full court man-to-man defense. With 2-2-1 you, we throw everything but the kitchen sink at you. So when you're not able to score, you're not able to score. You can't get into it. So, but I just felt like if we were able to score in that second quarter going to halftime, as opposed to being up 4, maybe being up 10, or maybe up 14, it forces Ridgeland to play just a tad bit different. But, man, you got to give credit to Ridgeland. They came out ready to play. They had a game plan, and they stuck to it. The zone frustrated us, and Coach Newby did a great job.
Yeah, Coach. But to be honest, Coach, with you saying that again, it gives me a different perspective. But, Coach, I thought that even though with the missed layups, there was frustration there, obviously, because when you're in that moment, though, especially in tournament time, championship time, you got to make free throws and layups when they count, because most of the time, third, fourth quarters, when they do come back, to hunt you. But I thought y'all kind of did a good job of just weathering through that and trying to figure that part out. But it's kind of like what you said too. Ridgeland plays the zone, and typically they're known for their man-to-man, I don't want to say pack line, but again, just strong man-to-man defense, and then they flip it and they play zone. And that's the part of the podcast that I like to emphasize about coaches. This job is a tough job. And we all have to deal with just our own personal lives, but you have to constantly be prepared because, like you said, we go play a Pascagoula team, you throwing everything at us, so we have to constantly be prepared. If you go to Raymond High School, you got to be prepared to be able to play at that level. So then when you get to the Coliseum, you have to have so many things on your mind because they can go zone, man, press. And so it's just kudos to be able to show that you implemented that into your guys, that even though it wasn't going your way, the way you wanted it to, you still instilled enough in them to push through adversity and kind of get through there. So again, I hated to see
And
that, man.
I
Go
think
ahead.
that's what the schedule paid off for us, though. It was able to, we were able to fight through those tough moments and still hang around and give ourselves a chance to win just because of the toughness of the schedule that we played. So we didn't expect the call. We knew we weren't getting the call. We weren't trying to look for a call. We just wanted to try to grind it out and find a way to win. And, just unfortunately that night they made the plays down the stretch and we didn't. So I think our schedule got us to that point, and our schedule really kept us into that game because I'll probably say 3 years ago, we probably would have just folded. We would fold up to 10 and went home. So, again, going back to 2 years ago, the last 2 years, making the schedule out is all about taking trips to Jackson, to Meridian, just going across the state and going play just for that reason, to get those tough games when you're not going to be you're not going to have any home crowd there. You're not going to have the referees are not from your area. And it prepares you for those moments. I think like the best game of the season for us was when we played against Canton. It seemed like at the Canton game when we played Canton up at Velma that they held the time. The time frame we could have started a little bit early,
Yeah.
but they held the time just enough to get everybody in Canton in there.
Oh,
And
you know
it was a
that.
great atmosphere, and I think that prepared us. But unfortunately, we just didn't we didn't make the plays and at the Coliseum down the stretch. And I also think too, like not having a big crowd for us was a factor. There wasn't really a big crowd. My guys kind of feed off the crowd's energy, and they couldn't get that energy because there was so much space in there. So that
Yeah.
played a little bit of a factor too.
Coach, I like that you said that too. And I like the podcast because it's helping coaches out, but also letting fans get a kind of inside view of what we're thinking. And you said some good things that I think that can help coaches out. Like when you have a great team and you know that they're talented, make sure you have their schedule where you have those challenging games and put you in different environments. I know Coach Tadlock says it all the time. It's not about being undefeated. It's about can you win it when it counts. And I think that you did a great job by doing that. And then also too, Coach, this is something too. It's important that we come out and support you and support the team because when you in those moments, and I know it's a long drive and I don't know how we figure that part out, but like you said, if you had a bigger fan base, and you're not blaming the fans, you're just saying it would have been a much more a feel of comfort if you got your people, that you got the blue and you got the red there. And that makes a difference because if you look at the Canton and Yazoo City game this past year in the 5A state championship, man, you got everybody from everywhere came to the game. So that means a lot, Coach, and hopefully that sticks with other people as they see that you got to get your fan base behind you. Coach Tadlock, going to your game at the Coliseum, the Choctaw Central game was a game there, Coach. Obviously, I saw you play all year being in your district. And again, I knew that game would be a game that I knew that would be the difference maker between if you all are going to go for another one or if you were not going to go, because again, when you got a Choctaw Central team that beat you the first game of the season, you know that the confidence is there, and you know on the other side they're saying we can beat these teams, we can beat this team, and we know we can beat this team. We had a great chance of winning the state championship. So kind of talk to us about going into that game and obviously playing Macomb again, I believe for the third time, the fourth time, I'm sorry, for the fourth time. And just talk about that run in those last two games of the season, Coach.
Yeah, we knew Choctaw Central. They're a tremendous mismatch problem just because they all can shoot the ball, they all can handle it, they all can make decisions. They're not overly big, but they're big enough. They're from 5'9" to 6'2", 6'3". And like I say, every one of them can shoot it. Every film you watch, you're just like, we saw the new Albany film, and I mean, they came out and they hit 4 or 5 threes in the first quarter, and it's just like, goodness, how you gonna guard that? You can't play a zone because they're gonna make shots, and then you start out in man just to see if they can make shots. And a lot of people think they got that mentality. Well, can they make it down there in that arena? Well, they came out and hit 3 or 4 threes in the first quarter, so I knew we couldn't switch to zone. We're really not a zone team anyways. But we knew if we got into a grinded out game, we've been in enough grind games where even if it is close at half, our third quarters were normally really, really good this year. And we got to halftime. I think we were up 1, and then we went on a run in the third quarter to put us up 12. And then we kind of pushed it out, which was really good. And I'll tell you one thing that helped us that night. One of my first kids off the bench, who actually just signed with Colin today, he rolled his ankle Monday in practice. We played on Wednesday, and so he didn't even play on Wednesday. So that kind of gave me a little bit of extra, anxiety going in, thinking this is our spark off the bench. He's a senior. He's gritty, and against a team like Choctaw, you got to have some gritty kids. And so we had 3 key juniors, man. They stepped up tremendously in that Choctaw Central win. And, man, we knew going into that Macomb game, of course, when you have to beat a team for a 4th time, and they played their best game in the district tournament, championship at your place. They gave us fits. We turned the ball over a lot. It was only a 5-point game at half. And so, of course, you're thinking, did we give them enough, hope that they could beat us? And, we watched them play Greenwood right before us, and they were making shots. They were getting downhill when they want to. And so, of course, we knew we had a challenge in front of us. But I hate to say this because, he's a good friend of mine. And, of course, we're coaching this game together. But when Coach, when they slipped up against Ridgeland, my guys saw that, and we knew we had a chance to finish 1 then. I don't think I had anything to worry about, us beating Macomb, because they were like, Coach, man, as long as you get the bus to the game, we're going to be fine. And so I hate to say that because, I wanted to see Coach Wright bring that thing home. Me and him talked about it. But like I say, that kind of gave us a little bit more, pep in our step with that Macomb game. And, we came out, I think we were up 19-6 at one point. And, we were rolling pretty good. We were up 9 at half. And then again, that third quarter, we went on another run and got up maybe 20. And then, of course, we closed it out in the fourth quarter. And it was a special run. We've never won 30 games. We've won 29 3 times since I've been at Raymond. And we kind of talked about that. Each year you kind of got to find something else to be like, all right, what can we do different than the group before us, or what can we do? So we've never won 30 games, and this year we finished 31-4. And like I say, our schedule was really, really tough. There's some of the games. I'm gonna be honest with you. When we went to Gulfport, I started thinking like, man, I know I did the right thing by putting us in it, but man, we got to play a team out of Ohio I know nothing about. That's really good. We got to play Olive Branch in the second game, and I know they're loaded. And of course, if we can make it all the way to the championship, we got to play Windermere Prep. Prep school out of Florida, who's got Brandon Bass's son. They got a big 7-footer. They got another guard that's electric. So I'm just thinking, man, if we can go down here and steal 1, maybe 2, that'll get us the confidence. And like I say, never didn't think we weren't going to win it, but just realistically, that's a tough run in 3 days. And of course, being in hotels, just seeing how our kids will react, and they handled that trip well. When we got back, I said, I knew we can make that run now. And then of course, we needed that MRA loss on MLK. It got moved from MLK to the next Saturday because of the ice storm and all that. And we were in the middle of a 5 games and 6 day stretch, so we weren't near as effective as we needed to be, which was good. I mean, MRA popped us in the mouth early, and we had a shot to win it at the buzzer, and we missed it, which was good because we needed that wake up before we got to the first round, because we ended up playing a gritty Morton team in the second round, and they gave us a really good game. And then of course, I think we were talking about, other than the MRA game down the stretch, we never had a game within double figures other than Lanier. The last regular season game of the year, we beat them by 9. But playing a tough schedule means something. And I'm just at the point in my career, I felt like this when I first got the Raymond job, but I do now. And we could start out 0-5, 0-6. And a lot of people may say, well, you've won a couple state championships. I mean, I was doing that my first year. My first year, we were 23-5 the year before I got to Raymond. And by Christmas time, my first year, we'd already lost 6 games because we lost to Murrah, lost to Meridian, lost to Canton, Brandon, a lot of teams like that early on. but then we won 20 in a row to finish the year out. And I just feel like when you're on that bus in January, February, you want to know you've done everything to prepare your team, and so because my goal isn't to walk around at the coach's clinic or walk around and say, we went, 30 and whatever, and we got beat in the first round of the playoffs, and so and what a lot of people don't understand, man, you got to have some luck on your side, man, when you get down to Jackson. I mean, all it takes is one bad night, in the playoffs, and that's it. Like I say, if we consider and say, let's do a best of 5, I'm sure, with the team I had this year and even Coach Wright, we'd like, oh yeah, let's do a best of 5. We'd feel great, or even a best of 3. But a best of 1, all it takes is one bad shooting night, one, bad anything, and like Coach Wright said, the M1, I was actually at his game, and a lot of people did leave after that Terry Olibrant's game because it was a midweek game at night. And a lot of that has something to do with it, because when you play that 7 o'clock game, you're going to have a better crowd than that 8:30 game, and
Yep.
so a lot of it is the luck of the draw. And again, the people that's outside of basketball, they would never understand what that has to do with anything. But you just make a 3-hour trip up. I'm playing, the way the Terry game, the way they lost at the buzzer. Of course, a lot of people were excited and got ready to leave after that game. And so I get it. Now you're playing in a half-empty arena, and Ridgeland drove 7 miles, to get to the Coliseum. And so, they got a little bit more fan base there. So when they go on a run, it's a little louder in there, and, things like that matter. And so, like I say, at the end of the day, I try my best, and I know we're much closer to the Coliseum. I do whatever I can to promote, man, y'all get out and support us, because I know how when we go on a run, our team is the same way. If we got a crowd behind us, man, we can go on a 10-0 run like it's nothing, and so I get what Coach Wright said. That's very, very important. But like, just to sum it up, man, it was a great season. I told my guys, even today, we closed our season out with our final speech and all the final meeting. I just said this was the most fun in my 13 years I've ever had. But I told them that back in September, October. I just knew there was something special about this group. They love to be around each other. They're always in the gym, always. If you see one of them in the hallway, you see 20 of them. They go to breakfast together. It's a close-knit group. And I think that definitely paid off for us in the end.
Yeah, I think that makes a difference. I agree. Like, I knew, being in district with you, I knew it was gonna be tough anyway. But Coach Wright, when I saw them do good in Gulfport, I said it's gonna be trouble for us in this season, man. But they're just a part of it. But you made a good point. That 8:30 game in the Coliseum, it is tough, because when I went to the Can play, who they play first in the semi. Was it Pale they played? Well, anyway, it'll come to me. But when they played that 8:30 game in the
Wayne
semi,
County.
it was like,
Wayne County.
yeah, man, it was. You could almost hear it was so quiet in there, like you said, because the game before was
quiet,
the City Provide, and kind of like you said, everybody was excited. In the 8:30 game, man, you was almost trying to stay awake, and you could see people literally leaving. So that's a small adjustment that people have to make. So I'm thankful that both of y'all shared that, because again, this is something that coaches can be prepared for that moment of it. Coaches, we try to
I'm gonna do
transition.
like Tadlock did.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna do like Tadlock did. This year where he put on Facebook, he wrote that letter. I thought that was
that's
great.
what did it. Everybody got to take off work, so I made sure of that. Now I probably got to pay some people back because of that, but I think I can do that now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hey, smart man. She got all the tricks and trades to it, man. Let's talk about coaching great players, man. Both of y'all had Danny Dozens and EJ and Dorian, man. Kind of talk to us about that. Obviously, we know, what everybody knows about them because it's kind of publicized so many times. But tell us some things that we may not know about those two great young men. And then the second thing is, help us as coaches. How do you manage a great talent? And obviously, when you have kids, they're up and down. But when you got a superior guy when I mean superior, not he's better than anybody. What I'm saying is he got a high level, he got a high motor, great leadership skills. How do you manage that to make sure you keep them motivated, to make sure you push them every single day, but also to keep the other teammates from being jealous? Because again, we know it. Everything is not the same. Like, we know EJ and Dorian is probably going to do majority of things offensively, and there may be some things that may be put in place to be able to kind of help them move throughout the season if it comes to injuries, extra shots, extra practice time, things of that nature. So talk to us as coaches. How do you manage big time players, especially obviously the Andy Dozens of the world?
Man, Dorian was pretty easy. Man, the kid he's self driven. He's been a 4 year starter for me. So to watch him grow over the last 4 years has just been truly amazing. You talk about a kid. He's easy to coach, just simply because he's your hardest worker. Um, he's gonna spend time in the gym. He's gonna spend time outside the gym trying to get back into the gym. He's gonna go to work. He's gonna leave work and he's gonna come find his way back into somebody else's gym. He stays in the gym. And then we're so defensive oriented that he leads all the defensive drills. He doesn't really care about the offense. The offense is gonna come. He know he can score off of it. So being able to coach the defense is a lot easier when your best player is leading the charge. So he's a two-way guy. He's all over the court. He's vocal. He's flying around. So coaching him has got to be pretty easy, especially the last 2 years. Just getting to that point was a little bit more difficult because he's so quiet. He's so reserved. He's even that way now. But when he gets on that court, especially the last 2 years, when he gets on that court, he's fiery, man. And then if the crowd gets to him, or folks start talking noise to him, he goes berserk. So once that happens, he is just a whole nother kid. But he's a great guy to coach, man. Great kid to coach. One of the kind of guys you hate to see him leave your program. You want him with you forever because he means that's the kind of guys you want to coach. That's what I got.
Yeah, and I'll even go into Dorian a little bit too. We saw him. We were down there at the deal in New Orleans last summer, and I was talking to a couple guys, and of course I'm like, man, that kid, man, he has a motor. And everybody's like, Coach, he's had a motor since he's been in middle school. Like, I mean, he's just been the same way every single time you watch him. And that's special, man, to see a kid like that who, of course, I know we deal with a lot of prima donnas in our sport, and they think they're better than what they are. They look at rankings, and, man, he does an outstanding job of taking care of his business on that defensive end. Of course, offensively, he's as skilled as anyone. And so just to reiterate what Coach Wright said about him, and every time I saw him, I was impressed because you could tell he really loves playing the game. And on to EJ basically like Dorian, first one in the gym, last one to leave. He's going to be in your office watching film all day. I mean, he takes care of his body like no other. He eats salads on game days. So you can tell he's different the way he thinks. A lot of people take that for granted. Like, what's that even mean? I mean, he thinks differently where most kids give me McDonald's, Wendy's, something like that. He's over here trying to take care of himself, so he knows he can produce, at game time. And man, just a super kid. You can coach him as hard as you want to coach him. And I was telling this story today at the Mr. Basketball deal, and I know Coach Wright's heard it. But the day of the semifinal or quarterfinals, we were headed to Pas Christian. So of course, our managers get there, and they're going to lay all the jerseys out. Well, EJ gets there about an hour before everybody. He wanted to get in the gym and get some shots up. And I noticed he was taking a little while to come out. So after he comes out, I go back there, just to look at some stuff. And I look, and he's done laid everybody's jersey out in their locker. And, just little stuff like that you wouldn't expect from a kid that's got all this pub and notoriety. That didn't mean anything to him. A lot of our guys would joke with him, oh, man, you're a 4-star. And he was almost like shy to that. Like that doesn't move him. He's all about team. He's never about himself. He doesn't try to exclude himself and think he's better or anything like that. I mean, he'll be the first one. Hey, Coach, if we get up tonight, let's get the bench in. Let's get these guys some time. Or he'll have a dunk and he'll throw it up to one of our athletic kids, Makai Strong, and he'll let him dunk it just because. And so being able to coach a kid of his magnitude and have the work ethic and the character, man, is just something that, of course, I'll miss tremendously with him, because he would literally let you coach him as hard as you want to coach him, and he's going to respond every time. So like I say, man, those guys are few and far between, especially your high level kids like that, because they've always been told how good they are and things like that. So, yeah, he's definitely a special kid in that aspect.
That's amazing to hear some young men who are still doing it the right way at a high level. Obviously, both of them were Mr. Basketball for their respective class. So that is amazing to be able to see that, and hopefully we can continue to kind of learn and be able to how to do that. And I'm gonna change that word. If I said manage, I don't think that's the best word to say. I probably should have said how you coach those guys, because again, you don't have to manage some people, and again, manage could be a word that could probably use in different ways. So I would probably say how you coach those kids, and I thank you for that. Let's transition to the Mississippi Alabama game. Obviously, we're playing here at Clinton, Mississippi. In that game, it's a major game here in the state. Looking forward to it. Obviously, Coach Tadlock will be the head coach, and Coach Wright will be the assistant coach, and that's usually how it works. I know last year Coach Tadlock was the assistant coach. I think Coach Green was the head coach last year. So the MAC gives you an opportunity to be able to see it, learn, and then take those experiences and move it forward. So, like I said before this podcast, I know Coach Wright looking forward for him to learn a lot, but also lead the team on next year, Lord willing, with that. So, guys, kind of talk to us about just your thought process going into it. And as I said before the podcast, I know people are probably asking you all that, but just kind of give us, your insight into that, because the key word is an all-star game. And when you hear all-star game, you hear, well, it's probably not that serious, but this Mississippi Alabama game is super serious. So even though it's considered an all-star game, like, we know that it's still gonna be fun. Obviously, we know it's not the state championship, but again, there's a lot of pride in that game. And if I'm not mistaken, looking at my notes, we haven't won that game since 2021. Obviously, that was the year Rashad Bolden. Of course, I know Coach is familiar with the Bolden family. He got MVP that year. So haven't won since 2021. And the last few years, Alabama kind of dominated in certain areas. And I don't think it was a player thing or a coach thing. I just think sometimes you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. So, guys, just kind of talk to us about, your insights and what you're looking for this upcoming week with the Mississippi Al game.
You want to?
I'm gonna let you go. Um,
Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
looking forward to just the experience of it. I think we got a really talented bunch. I think I'll take especially our big three. What I consider the big three, EJ, Avery, and Dorian, and just those three alone. I just don't think we got three really good players. And then matching up with their big three, I just love what we have. So I'm just looking forward from that standpoint, and then learning other guys and some of the other guys that I don't really know from the northern half of the state. Just kind of learning them in a few days and get ready to go out and compete and just kind of matching it up and just going against the Alabama squad and coming home with a victory.
Yeah, I definitely, last year being with Coach Green, of course, he kind of walked me through things, showed me how it's done. Of course, we played the game in Alabama. So definitely looking forward, to coaching in this game in Mississippi. And hopefully, we can do what we need to do and bring home the win. And, and I also I love the relationships that, high school basketball brings, just being able to meet some other guys other than, obviously the one that I coach. And, of course, me and Coach have reached out to, of course, the kids that made the team, and we've developed a small relationship. But being around them, because they have a lot of events for us. Last year we went and we did like this bowling deal, where they did arcade and stuff like that. So you get to see a different side of them more than just, okay, we're in here playing basketball. And so, in a couple of years, hopefully, me and Coach and all of us can turn on the TV and these kids are playing at the highest level, Division I basketball, some of these guys, and, we can, we coach these guys. And so, but I do know it's a high character group, because obviously during the selection process, there was a lot of discussion. There was a couple of guys that probably should have made it that didn't, just because it was so competitive this year, a lot more than last year. And but I do think we have a great nucleus that we can lean on, guys that can go get a bucket when they have to. But we also have some good role guys that's going to know, what they're there for, whether it's spot up shooting, of course, defense, whatever it may be. So I know I'm definitely looking forward to coaching this special group of guys.
Yeah, it's a special game, and what I noticed, one thing about the Alabama teams, they really put an emphasis on the defensive side of the ball, probably more than you would normally see in a basic All Star game. And on the girls and on the on the men and the women's side, or girls or boys side. And that's amazing to be able to see. And I'm not really sure. I would like to kind of get an inside view on kind of how they see it and how they view it, because I know how we do it. And we put a lot of emphasis on the defensive side as well as the offensive side of the ball. The part that's the most challenging, and maybe you all can speak to this as well. I had the opportunity to coach in the in the junior game, All-Star North and South. One of the things that was the most challenging to me is the minutes. Obviously, we know that each kid has to play a certain amount of minutes. So that makes it tough in itself. But then just you have so many talented guys. Like, kind of what's your thought process of going into that? And because again, when I'm looking at the roster, man, I'm looking at just the roster now. You got a couple guys from Yazoo, obviously. You got obviously Pascagoula, Raymond, of course. You got the guy St. Patrick. You got a lot of different guys. You got a guy from Canton, Cleveland Central. There's so many talented guys. They're like, how you manage that? Because that's tough, because you know that they're there, their family's there, they want to get some playing time, but at the end of the day, we are trying to win, and it's bigger than just to go out there and just do whatever. We're trying to win. So how do you all kind of manage it? Or maybe I haven't talked about that yet, but what's kind of you thinking with that? Because to me, that was a challenging part um, for me that particular year when I was blessed to be able to coach in that game.
Yeah, I'll say this. I know me and Coach, we'll be able to watch them practice, because I don't want to predetermine right now, of course, who's going to get this time, what rotation, things like that. Of course, I want to see them practice first, and there'll be, of course, a lot of guys I've seen them on film, but I want to see what they look like through drills or through different 5-on-5 deals, and just see who can make plays, who can't, or who's better at doing this, or maybe this group's going to be better with, this guy with this group instead of with this group, and so, of course, when it comes down time, we're going to have our best foot forward, and we want to win the game. And I know everybody has to get their allotted time, which is a challenge at times. But I
Yeah.
think with this group, there's really not a huge drop off, because, like I said, when we picked the team, I mean, we were kind of like, man, like this kid could be deserving, but he didn't make it. So, I mean, of course, very excited about, being able to coach a bunch of guys where it's not a huge drop off when you do even go to your 10th, 11th, 12th guy, and of course, like me and Coach Wright, after we get a chance to see him that first day, we make him start penciling in some guys and, different rotations.
Yeah, I think that's a good process about it. Give everybody a chance, and again, hopefully, and kids understand as well that it's a process, and again, we're trying to win, and it's just a good time, and so I'm looking forward to that as well. All right, coaches, we begin to wrap up. I thought about this question, especially when I heard Coach Wright's story and his journey. Metro basketball versus the coast basketball. And I know there's always been that discussion, who plays the better basketball? Is it the metro area? They said, well, the metro area, they play this style. Is it the coast? And it's always a rival. So I'm glad to have y'all on. So I'm going to kind of ask a couple questions in that. I want you to, if you had to create an all-time, it's kind of hard to say all-time team, because there's so many legends in the South and so many in the metro area. But who wins some of those games? Because Metro is going to do that thing, and I'm a Metro guy. But again, I respect what's going on in the South as well. I had an opportunity. I was blessed when I was coaching at Merle High School. I got a chance to be able to coach Devin Booker when Moss Point came up here to play in the MLK game at Lanier. And there's some other guys, Shea Christie, there's some other guys in that particular area. So kind of talk to us about that, guys. Who got the best? Is it the Metro? Is it the Coast? Is it a combination, the style of play, players? We might be on here all night, but man, I think the fans want to hear that, man. Talk to us about Metro versus the Coast.
It's two different styles.
It's
two different styles. But I'm a Coast guy, man, so I gotta go with the Coast. I gotta go with the Coast. It's just a good. It's good. It's good basketball on both sides of it. The styles are different. I know Coach Tadlock can speak to it because he's been down here a few times. But coming up there, man, coming to the metro area, the play is different. It's a grind. It's physical. It's tough. Typically on the coast, we're kind of more of an up-tempo, finesse kind of team. It's just different styles. But I would take the coast all day.
Well, I can only go on results, and they say the last state championship from the coast came in 2014 on behalf of Gulfport High School, who put us out that year. So I'm gonna give the coach their props now because they did put us out, but I'm gonna give the Metro just a slight advantage.
Yeah,
Because one thing about like
yeah,
what Coach Wright said, they do let us play a little more here, depending, most nights with the crew. It is a little bit more physical, but I can tell you, I mean, like I say, I followed Coach Wright even before, the last couple of years. I mean, he's always had, a good team he's put out on the floor. At Pascagoula, of course, Biloxi with Coach Wyndham. I mean, he's always, done a great job. Coach Owen Miller at Gulfport, even Coach Pavlis at St. Martin, he's had some good groups come through. And, all even along the coast, Pastor Christian's had good programs. So, I mean, there's been some really good ones. Coach Boo Hardy's put, together some really talented teams that could compete anywhere. So, I mean, I think the talent is definitely equal or maybe even sometimes better on the coast. Like I say, but of course, just me being up here, I'm definitely going to give the advantage slight to the Metro. So,
Hey man, I wouldn't expect it any other way. But I agree with both of you all, man. There's some, if you look at just the history of it over the years, there's been some great teams on the coast, some great teams here in the metro area. I remember the year when was it Isaiah Cannon when he was at Biloxi? When they came down here my
Biloxi.
first time seeing, yeah, when I first saw him play, man, because they beat Provine that year and Jim Hill that year to win the state. And I was very impressed with that. So man, hopefully, man, we can maybe set something up, man. Maybe do the In the Sand podcast classic, South versus North. Maybe one year we go down and play at the Coast Coliseum and then come back up to the Metro, man. That'll be pretty amazing. I know there are a lot of logistics in that, but that'd be good to see. And again, it may not settle it because it could be a year where the coast teams are stronger, could be a year with the Metro teams, but that would be something to see, man. But I thank y'all for that, man.
That would be good.
Yeah, it
I
would be,
agree.
man.
I think that'd be a great idea. That's definitely that's something that would be nice.
It would, man. 'Cause you got the venue to play it. Again, it's just, obviously, the money gonna come into it. That's the biggest thing, and just getting everybody there. But you do have good venues that can hold a lot of people, and man, you're definitely gonna sell a lot of tickets with that. But speaking of that, Coach, I'm glad you said that, Coach. I know, Coach Wright, you kind of do something like a coach's clinic, somewhat. Man, I think it's in the fall or something like that. Coach, talk a little bit about just kind of, if I'm not mistaken, I think do you still do that, or did you do that the past couple of years? Like he had a couple guys come down and kind of talk and kind of put something on. If I'm
Yeah,
if I'm speaking,
we didn't do it this past year. Just I kind of got it out a little bit too late, but
okay,
usually right before the season tips off, about 2 weeks before the season tip off, we'll do a coaching clinic. It's totally free, not charging anything. Just get some coaches in, give their expertise, on whether it's philosophy or if it's an offensive set, defensive drills, or just we had a guy come over from Alabama to talk about how to deal with parent relations, just different things. It's been a great 2 out of 3 years has been great. Like I said, the third year this past year we didn't do it, but the first 2 years were great, were awesome. Coach Sykes at D'Iberville came in and spoke on his back line defense. Coach Owen Miller came in when he was at Gulfport, and he spoke on some of his dribble drive stuff that he was running at Gulfport at the time. Coach Siebel gave us some zone stuff. We reached over to Mobile with uh, Coach Cordova at UMS Wright. He talked about the parent building the parent relationships. Coach, I forget the guy's name. He's at Alma Bryant. Coach Griffin at Alma Bryant talked about his run and jump defense. So we've kind of had a little bit of a variety, and we've had really good turnout. And all the coaches really like the turnout that we've had. So we're gonna look forward to kind of getting back to it again. This season coming up. We do it probably in the middle of September, like I said, late September, early October. Just been good. We just kind of took a break this year, kind of just because of the whole adjustment of the flex schedule for us. So we were kind of out, and I couldn't kind of figure out how we were going to do it. But after, we'll be right back with it real soon.
man, that's good, man.
We'll
Y'all
get Coach
definitely.
Tadlock in on it.
Oh man, well
I'm
you
in,
gonna
Coach.
sell it out then, man. If you got Coach
I
Tadlock
know
there,
it.
man. Hey man, y'all definitely go out and support Coach Wright, man. I think that's something that's amazing. Again, it's always good to see great minds putting things together and sharing good information. Um, Coach Wright, let me ask you this. I know I asked Coach Tadlock this on last season. We've always our most popular question when it comes to your your all-time starting five in the NBA. I tried to go back and watch Coach Tadlock and find his top five. Hopefully he can remember it, but if not, it's still fine. But Coach Wright, I want to hear what would be your all-time starting five lineup in the NBA, in the history of the NBA.
All right, at the 5 spot, I got to go with Shaq. That's my guy, the Diesel. At the 4 spot, I gotta go with Tim Duncan. I'm probably gonna stay big at the 3 spot with Kevin Garnett. At Jordan's got to be at the 2 spot and Kobe at the 1. We're gonna be big.
Yeah, that's different, man. Again, of course, Jordan has been on everybody's list. Obviously, LeBron has been off a few people's list. Kobe is kind of surprising that Kobe hasn't been on a lot of people's list, but it's the first time we got Kobe at the point guard, so I like it. Coach Ted, like, you remember your lineup, man? I hate I didn't find it before the show, but do you remember your lineup that you had?
Man, I can't remember. I do know that the GOAT was on there, though. I do know Jordan was on there for anybody that needs to know who the GOAT is, Yeah. But I can't remember the rest of my 5. I mean, I know names. I just can't remember the whole 5.
Have to
Of course,
go
I
back
had
on
Kobe.
and look it up, and I might post it on the
we'll have to
video.
go back and
What
look.
you said the GOAT? Yeah, we definitely have to look it up. With the GOAT conversation, I know, of course, with LeBron going 40, like, is it anything that he can do to take that full reign of just being the GOAT? I know people never give it to him, but is there anything that he can do, or does he have to do anything else to really be considered to be number one? I'm kind of like you. I'm Jordan all the way through, but again, I have to respect what LeBron has done and what he is doing. But in y'all's opinion, is there anything he can do to just take over that position full time?
I don't know. Maybe win another championship, but that's the championship debate is Jordan all the way. But you got to respect what LeBron has done at this point in his career, at this age, man. The way he's kept his body up, the way he's still able to go out and perform at this age, guys. Jordan wasn't doing that, so you got to give him that credit. So he if he wins another championship, it's gonna be you got to have a real conversation, I think. But I just don't have him in my top 5.
Yeah. And I believe, like I say, I'm not a LeBron hater. I mean, I like LeBron, like you say, at his age to be able to do what he's doing and is really remarkable. I mean, especially being a bigger guy like he's always been, to be able to maintain his body and the wear and tear, he's done a tremendous job. I think sometimes that people get on him a little bit because he whines a little bit, but I mean, I don't ever look at that. I think he's one of the best players ever, obviously, and he's definitely in the conversation. I just grew up opinionated with Jordan. I mean, that's what I grew up with, and he was just a man back then, and he's never been the most physical. I guess that's one thing that I look at. He's always been super skilled. He's not 6'9", 250, which, I mean, I'm not going to hate on LeBron for that, but Jordan was a true skilled basketball player at I ain't gonna say normal size, but he wasn't the biggest one around, like LeBron. And, I just got a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, man, it's tough, and again, like you said, it's all opinionated, and it's gonna be different things and different factors that you look at. And hey, before you know it, maybe 20 years from now, they'll be talking about some other guy. But again, just to be in that conversation, I think is important. With that, guys, as we begin to wrap up, I want us to do 2 things. I kind of want you to. I should have did this in the beginning, but I always like to be able to maybe you shout out some people from your staff, maybe shout out a couple of your players or your team, your administration, or your community, because I know just looking at it over time, people come out and they want to see what Coach Wright has to say. They want to see what Coach Tadlock has to say, and sometimes it's good to be able to hear being recognized sometimes. So if you can do that for us, and then after you do that, if you all can just kind of take your last shot, and what the last shot is, you're able just to take this opportunity to just talk about anything, wrap the show up, just kind of give your conclusion statement with that. So those 2 things, just kind of recognize some people, like you said earlier, your community members, maybe administrator, your staff. And I know you can't name everybody, so don't be mad at them if they don't say your name or they forget you. Again, I just want you to recognize, the Pascagoula faithful, the Raymond faithful, and then take the last shot. Just kind of conclude the podcast as we wrap up with this episode. And I throw it to you first,
Yes,
Coach
sir.
Wright.
Oh yeah, man. Can't thank my wife enough, man. You got to thank your spouse, man, because they are with you through every win and loss. So, and it can be a grind on them as well. So I want to thank my wife for constantly being there. My assistant coaches, man, they were great this season. Jordan Torrey, Miles McClain, they were really great. They're young guys. They're gonna be really good at it. Um, my principal is great, Mr. Ray, Milton Ray. He's a former basketball guy, so that helps. You can go talk to him about certain things. And
He's a
really,
Metro
man, Pascagoula,
guy too.
yeah, huh?
I said he's a Metro
I
guy
didn't hear
too,
you.
man. As far as he is
Oh yeah,
a
he is a
Metro
Metro guy.
guy.
He is a Metro guy. He is.
I'm
Uh,
sorry.
my
Go ahead.
AD, man, my AD is great. My AD is great. Stephen Engel, very supportive, man. Gives us everything that we need. Um, again, Milton, I said Milton. And the Pascagoula community, man. This past year was totally, totally amazing, man. The way they rallied behind the kids after each win. The fan base just grew and grew, and they were the reason why we were able to play so well. They kind of helped them block out the noise too. They kind of reminded the guys to stay focused. They rallied behind them kids like I've never seen here. So it was a great year in that sense. I'm proud of them. And even just the whole Pascagoula Gaucher School District, from the superintendent to everyone, has been great for us this past year. So, I want to give them all of them a huge shout out and a big thank you. We look forward to doing it again next year and starting back over, starting with a one game approach, but we don't want 29 in a row. We just want that gold ball at the end of the day.
That's right.
I feel you on that. Before you too, Coach, I forget. I don't know how I forgot this, man. Jordan Torrey, I coached him when he was at Germantown. I don't know how I forgot to recognize my guy, man. So shout out. We called him Trey when he was in Germantown, man. But a small world. I had to get him on the web, man. But shout out to Jordan. I forgot about that, man. So forgive me, Trey. Go ahead, Coach.
Oh yeah. So of course I want to thank from my superintendent down. Our central office administration. When I say they are the best, and not just saying that either. They're great. They're supportive. They're at games that they don't have to be at. Not just the Coliseum. They come to other games. My administration, school level, Mr. Charles Willis. Of course, he does a tremendous job. First year as the head principal. He's been assistant principal and AD. Man, he's been great to me since I've been at Raymond. Coach Robert Jacobs, he's our AD now. Super guy, good friend of mine. I'm definitely going to support us. Our faculty and staff, they do a great job of making sure our kids every day are being held accountable. They hold them to a higher standard. They understand that they're not just basketball players, that they are, student athletes. And so I'm very thankful for them. Thankful for our guys, man. They just night in and night out, day in and day out. They let us, coach them as hard as we want to coach them. They play hard for us, and they compete, and they do a great job of putting that Raymond on their chest and making everybody proud. And, of course, my assistants, Richard Caston, he's been with me for 5 years. He's done a tremendous job. I lost my assistant, one of my assistants I hired last summer, Chris Woodall. He's been a collegiate guy. He agreed to come help me, and then, of course, when school started, he got a job at Louisiana Monroe. So, of course, I told him, man, you'd be crazy not to take that opportunity. So I hired Tori McPherson, and she's been great. She's at one of our middle schools, man. Nothing that she won't do. Drive the bus, wash the clothes, man. She's great. And so very thankful for her. And then our statistician, Coach Dawson, man, she's great as well, man. She doesn't get paid to do her job. She just comes, man. She's great. She rides with the cheerleaders. She does a great job of making sure that each and every night stats are available as soon as the game's over with. And she's just a big help. And, of course, people that kind of get overlooked, my managers, man, I want to give them a shout out. I got the best manager group in the state. I never have to do anything outside of my normal job duties because they're wonderful. So And of course, Ranger Nation. They do a great job of coming out each and every night, supporting us, whether it's home, whether it's road, they're always there. And so big shout out to them. In my 7 years at Raymond, they've never failed us, and they're always going to be there supporting our team. So definitely want to give a big shout out to all those special people.
Man, what a wonderful episode to start off season 2, man. I'm grateful for it, guys. Again, I'm praying you all do well, and I know you will. I know you got a busy week this week, so I thank you for fitting me into your schedule. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. And, man, I just thank you for just supporting what we got going on here. As I always say, every episode, man, support these coaches, man, and praying for them. If you donate to the program, if you're in the stands defending them when somebody say, hey, that's a stupid play, hey, man, leave my guy, Coach Wright, Coach Tadlock alone, man. So whatever you got to do to best support these young men, I think it's important. Come out to the game on Saturday. As we say, we want to better fill up the Mississippi College, the gymnasium there. We want to make sure we got Mississippi represented well because, again, the game is in our backyard. And it's important to be able to see there. So I'm excited to be able to support our Mississippi guys. And guys, anything that you all need, just pray that you get everything that you need. You be successful, have a restful week. And just clear minds and just represent, the brand of Mississippi. And again, I appreciate you again another time for being a part of the podcast. As always, I just tell everybody, man, be kind, be nice to someone, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Appreciate you having us.